Hi, I just thought I'd do a quick vlog to talk about how I'm feeling about reading this book. This is Me and White Supremacy by Layla F. Saad, and it is really making me think and challenging me in ways that I didn't expect. I mean, I knew it was going to be a challenging book. It's marketed as a book challenging white supremacy and white privilege, but it's a really interesting read. I can only take it in small chunks because it's almost like I need the time to chew over and think about it. I am trying to keep up with the journaling prompts, and I've been what I've been doing is I've been pasting the journal prompts into my notepad app and then handwriting, which has kind of worked for me quite well. So I'll tell you a little bit about what the challenges are for me. First of all, this book is intended to challenge. This isn't intended to be a light, pleasant read. It is intended to be a workbook for white people who want to do the right thing. But sometimes I don't know whether it's just that I haven't got through enough of it, but sometimes it feels like it's telling me the problems that are problems I'm already aware of, if not as viscerally as if it was actually my experience, but issues I'm aware of, but not quite giving me the tools to deal with them, which is what I really need. I really like the fact that it's used the term white supremacy rather than racism. It kind of turns the tables and makes it very clear that the problem isn't about people of colour and them having problems. The problem is the white supremacy, the absolute dug in, woven into Western culture expectation that to be a white person is superior to being a black person. And I think that is something that I feel strongly about wanting to dismantle, but I kind of need the tools. I'm very aware of having had a very white British experience, and it's really given me some interesting challenges. I thought it would be really good to just quickly sort of talk through some of the prompts and kind of unpick them a bit here. The very first day, let's check them on the very first day. Yeah. First of all, it asks to think about what ways you hold white privilege, and the issue with privilege is it's something you can't see because you cannot see what other people are not getting that you are. And I think that's a really good way of unpicking the real implicitness of racism in Britain. And the thinking about the things it has protected you from and not exposed you to. And I think that's hard because there's almost a bit of me that goes, well, I don't know what I haven't experienced, if that makes sense. but it really made me think. And I mean, the fifth prompt is, what have you learned about your white privilege that makes you uncomfortable? Absolutely, this book is about exposing that white privilege and making you uncomfortable. I think in a way it's unpicking some of the things that make me feel very uncomfortable and exposing what's beneath them. The second day was focused on white fragility, and this is a really interesting one because, yeah, the first thing it asks is, how does your white fragility show up during conversations about race? Do you fight, freeze, or flee? I freeze. And I have been in so many situations where I've not known how to break something and say, this really isn't acceptable. And I think it's quite useful to be given a name for that. I think sometimes it asks about weaponizing white fragility, and that's something I certainly have never done deliberately, but that doesn't mean I haven't done it, and that makes me feel very uncomfortable and have a lot to unpick. The next day is on tone placing, as in expecting people of colour to discuss their experience of racism in a way that is palatable to the white vocabulary, I guess. And this is really hard for me because I am someone who either I'm tone placing everyone, or actually what I'm doing is something different. Certainly within my perception, what I'm doing is trying to reduce the stress so that all voices can be heard. And in my mind, that doesn't, it isn't devaluing the angry voice, but it's recognising that an angry voice is very difficult to listen to. I'm not sure how I adapt that or turn that. I'm not sure. I need to really have this is something I'm mulling over, and this is why it's taking me quite a long time to get through this. And I will not finish this book by the end of October, but I would hope that I am not defining how other people should speak, but that sometimes I'm very aware that to get the effect that is needed, sometimes meeting the other person or meeting the other person's way of communicating is useful. Not sure about that. That's something I've got to really think through. The next chapter is about staying silent, and this is something I have really struggled with. Like I said, my instinct is to shut down, back off, and I don't know how always to fight it, how to say and interrupt things where I can see racism in a way that is productive. And I think sometimes I don't feel it's my I get this really weird balance between, is this mine to say, and if I don't say it, who's going to? And I think this is something I find in my advocacy work all the way across. I often feel very self-conscious of having a YouTube channel that is focused on diversity when, you know, I'm a fat white bird with no disabilities. Yeah, that's something I'm really working through, I think, and recognizing that by speaking up, I'm doing the right thing, but that what I need to do is call in other voices, make sure that I'm looking at whose voices are being represented in the work that I'm sharing on my channel. And I think the challenge of, you know, how do I benefit from not speaking out, I think is very hard because, yeah, if if I don't speak out, then the yeah, that protects my privilege, I guess. But what it also does is chip away at my soul, I guess. And the one person, you know, it asks, whom in your life do you harm with your white silence? And the biggest person who I harm is myself. Because actually I feel a sense of my role, but I worry about the sort of coming across as a, you know, great white saviour, whatever. But I have to be in this fight for better representation and better experiences for people. And it really does say something that I have only got to day 5 over the whole month. And actually the challenge here is to look at my own intrinsic attitudes and beliefs. And this book is challenging it head on. You know, looking at what, you know, the white superiority. I mean, I'd like to share this bit about how does white superiority show up. Tone policing. Subscribing to and elevating European standards of beauty. Believing African American vernacular English, and therefore, you know, British black vernacular is of lower quality. Buying from and working with white entrepreneurs and service providers, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And that's something that I haven't been consciously thinking about, and I'm not sure how I would always find that. Primarily reading books by white authors, and that's what my channel is really trying to challenge. I'm becoming much more aware of who is writing the books that I'm reading and who is valued in the stories they're telling. Primarily learning from and supporting white leaders, whether political or non-political. Yeah, that is huge when, you know, actually, when you think that in Britain, this is we have our first British Asian Prime Minister. You know, the lack of diversity within our political system is huge. I think that's one of the things I like about the area I work in, because I'm working in East London. There are a lot more school leaders who are Black and Asian compared to everywhere that I've worked before, where the only Black and Asian members of staff were support staff. And I think that's really significant. I think the holding the expectation that Black and Indigenous and people of colour should serve you by providing free emotional labour around racism. I think this is something that I hadn't understood before. I think that's something that through creating this channel and working on this channel, I'm understanding more, and I'm making sense of, in that I'm recognising that I need to do the work and I need to find things. Only sharing the work and words of BIPOC if you think it won't offend or upset the other white people in your communities. I don't think I do that. And I think particularly in things I share are challenging that. And actually it's online I feel safest in challenging racism when I see it. But it makes you think, do I? And maybe I do sometimes. Maybe I worry about what people will think too much. I'm not sure. That was one I'm less sure of. Believing in subtle and overt ways that you are smarter, more valuable, more capable, wiser, more sophisticated, more beautiful, more articulate, more spiritual, and so on, than Black and Indigenous people of colour. I don't do that consciously, but I think it's something that I have done in the past, and it's something that I am unpicking. And the other thing that was really jumped out at me from this chapter particularly, was the mentions the dolls. That the white blonde doll is still the standard, the basic, the default, and it shouldn't be. I mean, even, you think Barbie. Barbie has come a long way in diversifying their line. Yet, at its core, you have Barbie, white, blonde, slim, non-disabled. And so she's still the default, and everything else is special representation, and it shouldn't be special. And it makes me so frustrated. I think that's one of the reasons why I've got so interested in diversity in dolls and toys. And if you are thinking, you have I'm saying all this and I have this blonde doll beside me. Actually, what can I get around? This doll is not white. She is in fact it's hard to tell what her ethnicity is meant to be from her facial expression, but she is explicitly described in the story she comes from as having albinism. So I think in my slight headcanon, it's like, well, actually, I wonder what her parents' skin tone is. Yeah, but yeah, she's a. It was interesting because I showed it to someone who has albinism and said, you know, oh, you've yeah, this is the first doll I've ever found with albinism, and suddenly realised that that person has felt represented by a wide number of blonde hair, blue eyed dolls. But yeah, I just feel that even something like say the Lottie doll line. I love Lottie dolls. They are lovely, child-sized dolls. But what I noticed when I was trying to get a set that represented the children I work with, that there was all these different styles that were blonde and red-haired and pale skin. And actually, though there are dolls with other ethnicities, again, they still slightly feel bolted on and not the default. Where is the doll manufacturer that is producing black and Asian dolls as a default? So that's my challenge to the industry. But this book really is challenging my thoughts. And actually, it meant I haven't got through my reading list nearly as much as I would have liked to. Just a quick shout out for this book, which is, you can see I'm only a quarter of the way through, but actually looking at the Black history of Britain, I think is really important, because so much Black history seems to be focused on American history. So this is really, really interesting. So far I've found out about I found out that a emperor of Rome that I hadn't thought about whether they were not Italian, really, was North African. Found out, so looking at Black Britons in Roman times, I had heard about the some of the, particularly the Black Trumpeter working for Henry VII, but the one that really caught my interest was Ignatius Sancho, who I'd never heard of in Georgian Britain, who he was the first Black Briton to vote, or first black man to vote in a British general election, first black man to have a book of his letters published. He had his portrait painted by Thomas Gainsborough. He was the first black man to have an obituary in the British newspapers, as well as being a dad and having that being buried in Westminster Abbey. That is something. That's a story that I had no idea about from the 1700s. So that's really, really interesting. But I've got a whole pile of things, and just before I go, because I'm going to just want to have a quick shout out for 3 books on of the Harry Potter style, in the children with magic trying to work things out, and I wanted to just raise them. Right. So I haven't read these yet, so I will read them and do reviews. But we have The Elemental Detectives, and it's just so nice to see that black characters are not sidekicks. Yeah, and I mean, that's something I'm very aware of, that the black characters are so often sidekicks. Also, Lenny Henry's The Boy with Wings, which includes a character in a wheelchair. I don't know what her story is yet, but again, it's so nice to see the black character as the main character, and the white character as the sidekick. And this one just... I've been meaning to buy this one for ages. This is Onyeka's Hair. Onyeka and the Academy of the Sun, which features a black heroine whose superpower is her hair. And I think where hair for people with kinky hair is so often demonized, and the whole right, sums it up. Onyeka's hair is extraordinary. It makes strangers stop in the street. When she discovers she can control her hair with her mind, what was once an insecurity becomes her superpower. And I think that is so important. And again, the gang of children on the front are all black. Not the white superhero with a black sidekick, but a black character. This is really important. My Black History Month isn't going to be finishing. I've got so much work to do, so much thinking to do, but I ask you to hold me accountable for good representation. If any of you ever catch something I say that doesn't sound right, or that basically tell me if my white privilege is showing. Tell me. Yeah, that's what the comment section down there is for. And I would love to hear from you. Yes, even if what you want to say is to disagree with me. And I think my Black History Month is going to take the year. Because it has to, because this is important, and because representation matters. I think I better get back to my books. So I'll say thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.